Oh, the game that uses sympathy to terrify you. Minor spoilers for the film No One Will Save You ahead. They will contain spooky aliens. Wait, wait, I was huge. Get out of the way, I'm sorry. I realized how big I was. Okay.
So there's this part in the film No One Will Save You where Bryn is being chased by an alien in her home. It tackles her, she bites it to escape, spits out its space goo,
Ew.
Roche throws pots of boiling water at it. The whole thing is stressful as hell. But at some point during all of this, the alien gently creeps around the corner
Ew.
and just does this.
What?
And it stays that way as Bryn confusedly backs away.
Stay back, demon!
Now, the film, like most alien horror flicks, has plenty of disturbing and cosmically unsettling parts, but this quiet pose, this pause in the action that you could almost read as an attempt at communication, for some reason is the moment that bothered me the most. What is it doing? Why isn't it attacking anymore? And furthermore, is that a hint of sorrow, I feel? Sympathy for this intruder? Because it's one form of horror to be attacked by a monster, but it's another form entirely to realize that you are the monster.
Oh my god, she stabbed the shit out of him. Games.
Eventually, No One Will Save You does kind of allude to what this little guy is doing here, but that initial viewing of this scene was the most profound part of the film to me. And there are quite a few other instances like it where it's unclear exactly why the aliens are paying Bryn a visit. Viewing this movie stirred up a particular palette of emotions that I've only felt a few times before consuming fiction, which is what I'm here to talk about today. This language barrier trope is a tool that can be used to create some of the most haunting moments you can imagine, as well as some of the most magnificent. So if you'll indulge me and let me knock out this sponsor read real quick, we'll dive right in.
You got us.
I don't like the cold. It's
You got
bitter,
us.
it makes
I'm
my
sorry.
fingers and ears
Hit
hurt.
that bag.
So naturally, when I leave the house,
Skipping.
Do you remember that big fish in Wind Waker that spoke Hylian?
Yes.
That scene where you just had to kind of sit awkwardly while the King of Red Lions had a grown-up talk with him? It is a weirdly enchanting scene in some ways. You get the impression that you're stumbling upon a saga that spans so far back that there are dead languages involved. You try to piece together what is being said based on context clues from the portions of this conversation you can read. In his responses, the king seems to allude to some deeper truth that Link is not privy to. And there are a few moments like this throughout this game that for years remained a mystery to me since I played this back in middle school. But as it turns out, if you do a New Game Plus, all of these scenes are translated in that second playthrough.
Whoa.
You find out that the King of Red Lions was taking a chance on Link since he isn't the hero of time. We're told that he had a hunch all along about Tetra's royal bloodline. It's kind of a cool revelation to know that the pieces were already in motion this early in the game, but the scenes with these translations don't drastically recontextualize the story or change how you view your ultimate goal within it. Ganon is still bad. Link is still going to be the hero. You've essentially just unlocked some flavor text. But what if an enemy spoke highly? What if you had to fight it without fully understanding it? What do you think it would have to say, and do you think that would affect how you view that fight on a second playthrough? This is a scenario that Nier Replicant takes full advantage of. In your first run of the game, you need to find these 5 fragments, and to do that, you'll have to slay quite a few shades, which are, at this point, faceless bad guys that are after your sister. It's a bit odd that sometimes they drop non-video gamey items like an old school book, but on we go. You'll fight an armed statue guarding the first fragment, a robot partnering with a shade in this factory, bloodthirsty wolf shades, a colossal shade taking the form of a girl at the site of a shipwreck. And each encounter on the first playthrough is almost completely black and white. They're just obstacles in the way of saving your sister and nothing more. You slay the statue, scrap the robot, and bludgeon the girl. These little moments play the same role as the Hylian text in Wind Waker because they plant the idea that there is more to the story here.
Yeah.
But by placing the uncertainty in the context of an enemy that we are tasked with killing, we find ourselves facing the same conflict Bryn may have when the aliens seem to try and communicate with her. We're forced to ask ourselves if we are wrong for choosing to respond with aggression. We find ourselves in that language barrier-induced uncanny valley of seeking to understand versus seeking to survive. If seeing this alien take this pose was creepy to you when I first showed it earlier, that's probably because it oozes ambiguity. The chase scene is fairly obvious. If you're Bryn, the message here is evident. She is being attacked. But at this moment, the message is far from clear. What does this behavior mean? A 2016 article on the nature of creepiness tested people's responses to odd behavior from a stranger. Things like the stranger having pale skin, dressing oddly, licking their lips, having a peculiar smile, or laughing at unpredictable times. The researchers' conclusion from the results of this study was that the perception of creepiness is a response to the ambiguity of threat. All of these are features that are hard to get a read on. Our minds don't know what to do with them. Because while this is clearly a threat and you should be running away, there is no protocol for a stranger doing this. And it calls to question every previous action. What if this thing is chasing her because it's trying to protect her from a larger threat? What if there is a disagreement among the aliens on what to do with her, and this one is trying to get to her before its asshole friends do? What if this is its attempt at calling a truce? There's no way it would know what a white flag meant after all. What is the proper response here? If it were you, would you do the pose back?
No.
Would that be rude? A gesture as simple as pointing at someone is offensive in some cultures. On this planet, we can't even begin to understand what its cultural norms are or what its body language means, let alone its spoken one, which is what makes this scenario so unnerving, especially if it's just trying to help. And this whole idea of the big scary thing just being misunderstood when it's actually benevolent is an idea we've seen before, right? So you see this trope all around. And it's easy to start to feel like the premise is pretty surface level. Okay, the scary stuff isn't always evil, sometimes it's just misunderstood. Thank you for the lesson, Undertale. We shouldn't always just start shooting. The more I researched for this video, I began to see this everywhere. In the second episode of Heavenly Delusion, this lady stops the main characters from killing this man-eater because she is convinced that it is actually her son, because it ate her son.
Yuto went inside of it, and then it became Yuto!
And ever since, she's seen how it acts differently around her. It has protected her, she claims. Our heroes are reluctant, but I can see where this is going. It's just another case of the language barrier being used to reveal that the evil thing is actually just misunderstood. And it's scenes like these that, to me, keep this trope from ever really feeling played out, because you don't know. You can't know what someone's intentions truly are if you don't understand them. This scenario is almost always creepy because for every time a monster is actually benevolent, there is another where it uses that ambiguity as a diversion. The nervous uncertainty of these situations is what makes them so compelling to watch. The movie Arrival harnesses that uncertainty to create a plot that is genuinely haunting to try and imagine yourself in. UFOs have suddenly been spotted around the world, but they aren't attacking or trying to farm the Earth for its resources. They're just kind of parked on our doorstep, which of course begs questions.
They chillin'?
Why are they here? What do they want? Are they dangerous? Are we safe? And the movie builds tension by forcing the world to just sit with these questions. It refuses to ease the fear with answers right away. Dr. Louise Banks and a team put together by the military try to understand the aliens' language and teach them our own in an attempt to peacefully communicate with them. But naturally, suspicion clouds the world's judgment. It's one form of terror for the aliens to show up and just start attacking, but once again, it's another form entirely to endure months of them just not doing anything, months of no answers, months of unease and living on the razor-sharp edge of mutually assured destruction if the negotiations with them go south. Especially when you consider how much can get lost in translation from sentence structure to multiple meanings to cultural context.
First, we need to make sure that they understand what a question is. We need to clarify the difference between a specific you and a collective you. And purpose requires an understanding of intent. And biggest of all, we need to have enough vocabulary with them that we understand their answer.
One misinterpreted or misused word from either party in this conversation could result in a hasty, terrified, better safe than sorry pulling of the trigger. I won't spoil it, but there is a scene late in this movie where one party uses a word that, let's just say, carries multiple meanings and causes all hell to break loose.
Aww. Booba.
でそうした隠された制約というか見えない壁の中の一つにですね、やんなきゃいけないことの中に僕ら殺すゲームを作ることを求められるんです。なんかを殺す。
This is the voice of Yoko Taro, the creator of Drakengard, Nier Automata, Nier Replicant. He's an interesting person. He doesn't show his face in interviews because, in his words, when you find out that a person writing pornographic novels is an older gentleman, you kind of lose that excitement. Some people might lose that kind of expectation or excitement towards a game if they find out who's actually behind it. He's one of a kind, and we must protect him at all costs. But in this interview, he explains that the act of killing in video games used to strike him as strange. It's one of the most common acts to do, and even when you aren't slaying foes, be it like a sports game or a fighting game, you're still exerting your dominance over someone, gaining advantage over someone. In most cases, he claims, the consumer prefers this experience, himself included. But things like racking up a kill count is so often framed as an achievement when outside of video games, that makes you a serial killer. You'd have to be insane to be proud of that.
Oh my god, another plane has just hit.
Oh. That's my goat.
その頃には911とかイラク戦争とか経て、どんどん世の中がテロとかの情報がいっぱい日本にも入ってきて、でその時にちょっと考えが変わりまして、人間は自分が正しいと思ってれば狂ってなくても人を殺せるっていうことをちょっとなんか世の中から感じたんですね。
I see, I see.
And that's exactly what the first playthrough of Nier leads you to believe.
Yeah.
That you are right for all of the killing it takes to save your sister. When you pull the curtain back on your second playthrough of the game, however, you can hear the echoes of Yoko's philosophy. You don't get interesting flavor text translated, you receive dialogue that completely recontextualizes the events of the game and your hand in them. A second run of the game humanizes the faceless enemies you plow through in the first. The statue has a name now. He has found peace and companionship with the Shades. They've saved him. He wants to spend the rest of his life with...
That's so fucked up.
A young shade named Lil is left alone after his mother sacrifices herself to save him.
I remember this.
Heartbroken, he finds solace in the company of a robot that has also lost its creator. Khalil is thrilled. He calls him BB, and the two of them spend all of their days together.
Stop. No.
Louise is a lost girl living in an abandoned shipwreck. She can't talk, she can't leave the ship, but despite this, a postman finds her and is kind to her. He brings her food, gives her a bow, teaches her how to write.
And then we come and fuck it up. Ah, we're the evil ones. No.
Nier Replicant's subsequent playthroughs use translations to go beyond a simple, oh, that's cool, and instead completely verify and expound upon every sneaking suspicion we have about our time killing these shades. It's stomach-turning to all at once realize just how much pain you've caused simply because you didn't know what you were doing was wrong, because you couldn't understand what your foes were saying, because you didn't see the full picture, because you thought you were right. Unlike Undertale, there is no pacifist route in Replicant. To get the new endings, you have to play this portion of the game again without really changing anything you do. And I think that's significant. You watch as Nier and the gang go through the same motions, knowing full well after you finish off one foe that only more despair and suffering awaits you. You don't just get these scenes for free, you have to cause the anguish in real time. To keep going, you must feel the weight of every swing of the sword, the sting of every heart-gouging spell as you're force-fed this new tragic perspective. I think it's worth noting as well that these characters have found peace before you arrive because they are finally understood. Someone has come along that has chosen to see them as a friend instead of a threat. Khalil has only ever known the outside world to be malicious, but through BB, he has found someone to relate to, someone who actively seeks to know him. Because she is a shade, Louise cannot leave the ship and enter the sunlight, nor can she speak, but despite this, the postman still treats her like a normal girl and even tries to teach her how to write and sing. The underlying theme between these stories is that happiness is found when we try to understand one another, that communication, even when it seems impossible, is the path to peace. That is the subtle whisper in Nier Replicant that I think Yoko Taro is really pointing our attention to. It's not just that a lack of understanding can lead to agony, it's that in reaching it, we find fulfillment. And I don't think there's a better game to illustrate this point than The Last Guardian.
Oh. I never played this game. But that's okay.
The Last Guardian is one of those games where the goal is not to kill. It's not even to gain advantage over someone. The point is, from the very beginning, to seek to understand another living being, in this case, Trico. The first thing he does when you wake up at the beginning is snarl at you, which is pretty unambiguous, by the way, but you have no weapon. There is no attack button. What you do have, however, is the ability to pull out the spear stuck in his leg, the wisdom and size and strength to hunt down food for him. After all, you're stuck down here, but so is he. Maybe with a little bit of cooperation, you can make it out together.
We're friends now.
Now, to get it out of the way, yes, there are parts of this game that are broken. This is not where Daryl sits you down and says that The Last Guardian is a perfect game or even a fully functioning game, because boy, there are some issues with it. I'm also not going to tell you that those issues are the point and that if you hated it, you just don't get it, because this adds nothing to the experience except for the sound of me bashing my head into my desk. But among those clunky controls, tedious puzzle design, and obnoxious control reminders that you can't turn off for some reason, there are a few diamonds in the rough, some risky yet inspired design choices that get lost in the fold. One of the bigger
Yeah.
complaints that people have about this game is that Trico won't just do what you ask him to do. It takes forever for him to finally jump or lift the gate or just fucking turn around. We have to go this way. In this interview with Stack, when asked about Trico's AI, the game's director Fumito Ueda points out that if they made Trico just obey like clockwork, it would have reduced him to just a simple game mechanic. After all, your dog doesn't always come when you call, your cat does not always listen when you tell it to get off the counter. Mr. Ueda goes on to say that the one thing he wanted players to feel as they play is that Trico is a real living being. And in many ways, I think he succeeded in that endeavor. He absolutely felt real. Convenient? No. Real? Startlingly. Once I realized that communicating with this big oaf was anything but automatic, it made other moments shine beautifully. My biggest gripe playing this early on was that it was often ridiculously unclear what to do, which led me to just get frustrated and go to a walkthrough. I see the solution and then go, that's what they want me to do? But almost every puzzle is set up this fuzzy, and at some point, after I started grasping what Trico was scared of, what he tended to do in certain situations, how I could work together with him, I stopped needing the walkthrough near as much. And when I did allow myself to try and figure out the puzzle and succeeded, it was joyous. I laughed multiple times at how gratifying the solution was because it was exciting on two levels. On one hand, I had to have an idea like you do in most video game puzzles, but on the other, I had to trust that Trico knew what I was trying to do. Like there was one where we were stuck in this little arena and the only opening was way above us and it was only big enough for me to fit through. I look around and find this chariot. Trico watches me pull it out and then a light bulb turns on. Wait. There's no way that's a word, but fuck it. Trico, listen to me. Hang on, are we lined up right? Wait a minute, let me look. Okay. Trico, listen to me, buddy. I really, could you just absolutely, yes. Oh my God.
Oh, that's
What the
sick.
fuck, it worked. There were so many moments like this, and they were all embellished by the fact that I had no clue if he knew what I needed him to do until the exact moment he actually did it. In those moments, when it all came together, it truly felt like we understood each other. I weirdly
Like
felt
he was
pride
real.
in him, which is something I never get for those NPCs that just do what you ask when you hit a button. It's extremely risky to put puzzles like this in a game because it requires that the player do a ton of experimentation and accept that it may take a long time to get on the same page as an AI as moody as Trico, but the payoff is absolutely delightful. Between that and little things like Trico grasping that it took me forever to climb up his back and then just completely out of the blue deciding to throw me back there to make my life easier, I realized that it wasn't just me who knew how he ticked, but also that he knew how I ticked.
Whoa.
Spending time and developing the patience to coordinate with Trico was not the most fun I've ever had. But The Last Guardian is by far the only game to make me feel like a fictional character and I truly understood one another. Stories that shine a light on how bizarre it is that attacking is the #1 verb in video games are certainly necessary. Don't get me wrong, there is beauty and thrill in the heat of battle for a just cause in the game or in a spirited competition, but I personally feel that stories like Nier are a humbling reminder to all of us that in reality, conflict can and should be resolved in other ways. But I also think we need more games that emphasize not just that killing is bad, but also that communication and seeking to genuinely understand others, while sometimes unnerving, while sometimes inconvenient, is supremely fulfilling. In a 2021 interview shortly after the Replicant remake was released, Yoko Taro said, "I have failed before at changing the world through games, and I continue to fail now, but I still believe in the potential that lies within games, and I dream that someone new and young will break through for us." To me, it's clear that Replicant is not just a tale about conflict, but the comforting grace of seeking to hear and be heard in spite of it, and the tragic sting of being too scared or angry to try. And like Yoko, I also dream that games can inspire change. I dream about another game like The Last Guardian. I dream about a game that not only warns about the tragedy of not seeking to understand another, but that celebrates the majesty of seeking and finding.
What the fuck?
Hey you, thanks so much for watching.
That
If you
was
like what you
such a
see here and
good
want to support the
video.
show, feel free to subscribe, leave
There's
a
a
like, share,
million
comment.
views!
I'm
Oh
sure
my
you'd
goodness,
be
I didn't realize how many
for.
views it has.
And if you really like what you see here, for $1 a month, you can get access to
$1?
bonus content, bloopers, weekly updates, behind-the-scenes streams,
That was
creative input,
really
and more
good.
over on my Patreon
What a
page.
great
A
analysis.
special thanks to
I didn't realize that The Last Guardian was that interesting.